I'm the Northeast Region Director at Food and Water Watch. I'm incredibly proud to stand here today. Incredibly proud to stand here today with hundreds of New Yorkers. They've taken time off. They've made the long journey to Albany. And all of them for a simple reason. We want to know what's in the food we're feeding our families. We want to know whether our food is genetically engineered. And it's time for Albany to listen to people from Long Island to Buffalo who are urging them to label GMOs now. It's time for them to stand up for everyday New Yorkers instead of Monsanto and their allies in the junk food industry. It's time for GMO labeling here in New York State. I'm incredibly proud today to stand with some amazing legislative champions who tirelessly fought for our right to know. And I want to start by introducing Assemblywoman Linda Rosenthal. Assemblymember Rosenthal is the sponsor of the GMO labeling bill. We're so lucky to have such a tenacious fighter who every day is standing up for New Yorkers' right to know.
Thank you, Linda!
With that, I'll introduce it to Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal.
Thank you. Because this movement is just growing and growing. So a word of caution first, we have industry lobbyists lining the stairs. So just beware that all of our statements are being watched. Because the industry thinks they're more powerful than the people. But what do we say? No! You know, as this bill has picked up speed, has picked up sponsors, has gained media attention, the lobbyists have intensified their work to block us. Now, what we want is very, very simple. It's something that people in all the states in the U.S. want. It's something that people who live in the EU already enjoy. 60-something countries around the world enjoy the right that we are fighting for. And that is simply the right to know what is in our food. Is that so difficult? Let me say that when you have groups like Food and Water Watch, GMO-Free New York, Consumers Union, NYPERG, Sierra Club, NOFA New York, We Act. When you have all of these groups together, it means you're on the right side of an issue. That's why I'm so proud to be here today with all of you, because this is the right issue, it's the right time. We are spending more and more of our dollars on groceries, and we deserve to know what is in the food that we're eating. Now, you know the saying, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. more sway, and they're trying to block all states' efforts to label
Dark animals.
dark animals. And they want to prevent Vermont's law from going into effect in July. But you know what? We're not going to stand for that. In New York State, which is a leader on so many issues, we're not leading, but we're like third or fourth here in New York on this issue. We are going to make it happen. Now, the lobbyists think that if Vermont's law takes effect, that it's like a house of cards, then all of us will get this through. And you know what? It's right. Yeah, that's right. All right, so before I stop speaking, I just want to reassure you, 90% of Americans are with us. And the nonsense about voluntary labeling, let's do that, or let's have Q codes, it's nonsense. All corporations should follow the lead of Campbell's. Campbell said, people want to know, we're going to tell them. That's what, it's very simple. I don't know what the lobbyists are hiding, but they're getting paid plenty to hide. But the force of the people is louder and stronger and better than the voice of massive corporations. And that's why we're going to be successful. Thank you all. We will fight together till we win.
Not only 90% of Americans support GMO labeling, but it's a bipartisan issue. Republicans and Democrats coming together, urging New York State to label GMOs. I'm very pleased to introduce Senator Kenneth LaValle. He's the sponsor of the GMO labeling bill in the New York State Senate, and someone who's fought for our right to know for years and years. Senator LaValle.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out and be here to be part of We the People movement. That's what this is all about. We the People. I have been sponsoring this bill for 15 years and 2 days. The first assembly sponsor that I had was Assemblyman Thomas DiNapoli, who is now our controller.
That's right.
I am telling you that I have a perspective on this. We are getting closer and closer, and the lobbyists have sweaty palms because they feel what is happening. I grew up in a household where my dad said to me, never defend the indefensible. The lobbyists have a self-employment act, and so they are trying to defend something that is indefensible. And as I tell you each year, we the people always win. Always win. Whether it's today, next week, a month from now, a year from now, we will win. And the Campbell Soup people, you will see on a weekly basis more and more industries being with the people because it's in their best interest. do not stop, do not lose heart, because we will win.
Great, sir. Now, please introduce please now to introduce, thank you so much, Senator LaValle. Please to introduce Chairman of the Consumer Affairs Committee, which recently passed the GMO labeling bill out about a month ago. Please to introduce Chairman Jeffrey Denowitz.
Thank you. So I'm Jeffrey Denowitz. I chair the Assembly Committee on Consumer Affairs and Protection. And that's what this bill is all about. Protecting consumers. Knowing what's in our food is really not asking a whole lot. I assume everybody here likes to know if their food contains sugar or contains salt. We'd like to know if our food contains any one of a number of other substances. Well, we want to know whether or not our food is GMO food. A very reasonable thing for us to do. That is why the Assembly Consumer Affairs Committee has reported this bill out again this year. And I hope that this is the year that the next committee along the way will report it out as well. You know, Campbell's one of the largest food companies in America. I applaud them for what they did, but let's be honest. Maybe they didn't just do it because they're pro-consumer. Maybe they did it because it's a smart business decision on their part. Maybe they understand that 90% of Americans want to know if their food is GMO food or not. So they were very smart, and whatever their motivations were, I'm all for them. So tonight, go home and have a can of chicken noodle soup. Whatever.
Is it made in New York?
But I can guarantee you, Campbell's has set the tone. Other companies will follow because they understand what's good for business. You know, what's good for business and what's good for consumers can be the same thing. And in this case, it is the same thing. So I applaud my colleagues, Assemblywoman Rosenthal, State Senator LaValle, for their leadership in sponsoring this legislation. And we will continue to fight for as long as it takes to make this bill a law.
So now please introduce Assemblyman Felix Ortiz, another strong supporter and tireless advocate for GMO labeling. Assemblyman Ortiz.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all of you for being here. This is the right place at the right time where everything is being cultivated regarding the budget, and as well as I would like to thank my colleagues, Assemblywoman Rosenthal and Assemblyman Denowitz, for him putting the bill to move forward. Sometimes it's very difficult to get a bill to move forward of this magnitude. But sometimes when it's common sense doesn't work in this building. And it's very simple. When it's common sense doesn't work in this building. And we all have different experiences about as a legislator, what works and doesn't work. Well, let me just say this. We do have the right to know what is in those products. We do have the right to continue to put the fight to make sure that New York not just continue to be the leader, but New York continue to follow what Vermont and New Hampshire has done at this point and become to be the lead nationally to make sure that the bigger corporations understand that this is an economic issue. This is an economic issue for them, it's an economic issue for us, and it's furthermore a health issue. It's a health issue that impacts every single one of us and our constituents. So therefore, I would like to reintegrate it to thank you very much for being here, supporting my colleagues, and I'm here to support them and support you, and to make sure that this bill sees the light of the tunnel in the Senate. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Assemblyman. I'm now excited to introduce Assemblyman Dick Gottfried. Assemblyman Gottfried is the chair of the Assembly Health Committee. Assemblyman Gottfried.
Thank you. So just one footnote, not to argue, but as a vegetarian, I would say if you're going to have Campbell soup tonight, Tomato.
I knew so.
All right. Linda is too. So, right? Yes. Okay. Also a vegetarian. So, one part of the GMO issue that doesn't get as much attention as I think it should is that one of the reasons why chemical companies like Monsanto want to promote GMO crops is because those crops are engineered to be able to survive the more toxic pesticides that Monsanto and other chemical companies want farmers to buy. So if you want to promote the use of stronger and more toxic pesticides, the way to promote that is to go out and eat as many GMO agricultural products as possible, because that's a large part, maybe the whole point, of an awful lot of the GMO products on the shelves. It's not to help the produce be better or look nicer. It's to help it survive the more toxic pesticides. And one of the reasons why we should be entitled to know about GMO foods is to help in the fight against the use of those highly toxic pesticides.
Yeah. So I'm now excited to introduce the Executive Director of Citizens Campaign for the Environment. We've really taken on the GMO labeling issue. We're so lucky to have her here, Adriana Esposito.
All right, let's make it simple, everyone. Why do we want labeling? I'll tell you why. Because ignorance isn't bliss. Ignorance is dangerous. If they're going to put Frankenfish on the store shelves, we want to know. Come on, New York. We deserve to know. Just like Japan has the right, Britain has the right, India, Russia, not known for their pro-consumer motives there. They all have the right to know, but yet we don't. We want to know because we deserve to know what's in our food. It's a basic human right. But this battle is becoming about even more than that. It is a battle about what will win, corporate interest or the public interest. That's what this is being about. Let's face it, it's not in the public interest to keep us ignorant about what's in our food. That is only serving corporations. Elected officials are here to serve us. So I want to thank every single one of you, because change isn't only made by the slick corporate suits you see walking around Albany. Change is also made by those that get up, show up, and speak up. And that's all. So today, I want you to go do your jobs in those Senate Assembly meetings. Ask them and tell them you'd like them to be a co-sponsor on this bill, and let's get it past this session. Thank you very much.
Great, so I'm now excited to introduce Elizabeth Henderson. Elizabeth is the co-chair of the Northeast Organic Farming Association of New York's Policy Committee, and is happy to tell you that lots of farmers, in fact, do want GMO labeling. I'll turn it over to Elizabeth Henderson.
Thank you. I really want to appreciate your being here and your leadership in promoting this bill, and all of you who have come. NOFA, the Northeast Organic Farming Association, is the oldest organic farming group in the state. And since GMOs have been out there in the food system, we have been opposing their use because as farmers, we know that there's so much that we don't know about those GMO cultivars. But as farmers, we're especially concerned about just what has been said right now, about all of the chemicals that the GMO cultivars enable to be poured on those crops. so that now there are millions of acres in New York State that are being doused with Roundup and glyphosate. And glyphosate has been known for a long time to be an endocrine disruptor, and it has also been recently identified as a probable carcinogen. And who is the first person to be exposed to all of this? The farmers and the people who work on our farms.
Amen.
So to change the food system, to get rid of all of these toxic materials, we need all of your help. And labeling GMOs is a really important step in that direction. So thank you very much for being here, and let's get it done this year.
So now, really excited to introduce Stacey Orell. Stacey is the director of GMO-Free New York, a grassroots group that's been pushing for GMO labeling for years. Stacey Orell.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming up here today, or west or east, wherever you started from. I'm here today speaking on behalf of the 10,000 New Yorkers that follow GMO-Free New York on social media, the 16,000 New Yorkers that have signed our Move On petition, and the 93% of Americans who've already said they want GMO labeling. Between FDA's recent approval of Aqua Bounty's genetically engineered salmon and the food industry's push to get Congress to pass the DARK Act, which would block GMO labeling at both the federal and state level, it's clear that our right to know what's in our food is under attack. But it's time to hold our elected officials in Congress and here in Albany accountable for their actions on GMO labeling. New Yorkers are tired of the industry lies about proven safety and rising grocery bills. The fact is that GMOs have never been adequately safety assessed for human consumption, and that grocery prices will not go up. Prices haven't gone up in the countries that already have labeling. Industry-funded economic studies have been thoroughly debunked, and Campbell Soup recent announcement that they're going to label their GMO foods without any increase in prices exposes industry's claims as wolf cries. The time is right for New York lawmakers to step up and be a leader on this issue. Stop letting corporate interests take precedence over consumer rights and public interest. If it's GMO, let us know.
I'm now excited to introduce Chuck Bell from Consumers Union. Consumers Union has fought for GMO labeling not only here in New York, but across the country. Chuck Bell.
So I'm here to tell you what you already know. You have the right to know, you deserve to know, and these companies should put on-package labeling on their products if they have genetically engineered ingredients. And because you've done such a good job, the lobbyists for Monsanto and the grocery manufacturers of America are trying to shut us down this week in Congress and pass a law that would nullify Vermont's GMO labeling law, which goes into effect on July 1st. What I say is that the northeastern states are at a tipping point on GMO labeling because of the strong support we have here in New York, because Massachusetts and Rhode Island have active bills, and Maine and Connecticut have already passed GMO bills, as you know, and we have Vermont as the anchor of all that. But the lobbyists for Monsanto and for Kraft and Coca-Cola and Abbott Labs that makes infant formula, they're not only trying to shut down A617 and S4485, they're trying to prevent us from ever passing a law like this here in New York. So if we're going to have democracy work, we all have to stand up and fight for it. And I know you will, because you're among the most persistent people that have ever walked the earth. So on your way home on the bus, I would greatly appreciate it if you would please take out your smartphone, send an email to Senator Chuck Schumer and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who have been on our side, but urge them to stand firm, protect Vermont's law, give us the right to mandatory on-package GMO labeling, and that's how we're going to win. And thank you,
Great. Thank you so much, Chuck. Now we have Mark Dudley. Mark has fought for GMO labeling for years and years here in New York, and he is the executive director, I believe, of the Green Education and Legal Fund. I'll turn it over to Mark.
Thank you. So what do we want to say to GMO? No! I've been coming to the state capitol for 20 years to say no to GMOs, and we have not even got the bill to label it to pass the Assembly. Should we pass the bill this year? You know, I really appreciate it. I guess he's left. Assemblyman McGoffrey, I mean, yes, we want to say no to GMOs. We want to require labeling because we should have the right to know what's in our food. And we're concerned about the health impacts. But one of the things that we've been very concerned about is the environmental impact of genetically engineered foods. We've been concerned about superweeds. We're concerned about pesticides. And we're concerned about food democracy. And we're concerned about food sovereignty. Do we want Monsanto to own our food system? No! So that people have the right to know what's in our food? Yeah! Is this the year we're going to pass the GMO labeling bill? Yeah! Good luck and love him!
Chris Miller. Chris joins us from Ben & Jerry's. Ben & Jerry's is one of the companies that's been fighting for labeling for years.
Really brief. I want to thank you all for coming here, and I want to bring you greetings from Vermont, the first state in the world. 3.5 months' time will require GMO labeling. I hope you guys will join us in that. I want to dispel two quick myths about the food industry. The first is that small changes to labels like may contain genetically engineered ingredients has anything whatsoever to do with the price that you pay at the grocery store. That's right. Food companies make changes to labels all the time. That's right. And you see it, new marketing claims, new look and feel, it happens all the time. New flavors. New flavors. It does not increase the cost of food. And it is incomprehensible to me that companies would not be proud to tell you what's in the products they want to sell you. Ben & Jerry's, we're really happy with the ingredients we use. You know what, vegan? It is incomprehensible that food companies wouldn't want to tell you what's in their food. So again, thank you all for being here. Let's make New York State the second state to join Vermont. Good luck today.
So, to close this out, we have David Burns. David Burns is the CEO of Good Boy Organics. He's been a farmer for years. I'll turn it over to David Burns.
It's a great crowd. It's really exciting. You know, as a food producer, we do make label changes, budget for that. That's not the issue. As a farmer, you know, I wanted to know what my kids were eating. I didn't want them to eat GMOs. We got our farm certified organic. That's what my kids eat. And I think my passion for this topic comes as a parent. I have 3 kids, 3 wonderful children, and I just want to know what they eat. And I find it really hard to believe that federal government, state government, and large businesses are telling me I don't deserve to know what my children eat. It's hard to comprehend. You know, we have obesity, we have ADD, we have all of these allergies, all of these new food illnesses that people aren't sure where they're coming from. Leaky gut syndrome. What are these things? There hasn't been time for the research. There hasn't been the approval process that most Americans would expect. So our children are living in the experiment. And make no mistake about it, they are. And that's tragic. And I'd like to see the New York State government finally take a stand and make it so New Yorkers can know whether or not our children are eating genetically modified food. I'm not here as a scientist. I'm here as a parent who just wants to know. Glyphosate is making terrible problems, and I think everybody knows this globally. World Health Organization says it's a probable carcinogen. I'm going to go ahead and agree with them. That's a learned group of people. I just, as a parent, want to know why my kids can't avoid GMOs by the labeling on the package. And I ask, as a parent, to please have mandatory on-package labeling as soon as possible in the state of New York this legislative session. And thank you very much, Senator Gillibrand, for doing her best work on our behalf of our state and her constituents in the Ag Committee last week and blocking the DARK Act. Let's keep states' rights moving, and let's put the power in the hands of New York, and let's move on this issue now.
Together, all of these meetings and all of us, we've shown a huge amount of power here. We can label GMOs. It's going to take all of us working together. Thank you for coming. Woo!